We are not the be-all end-all of a Northern European-style democracy and economy.
No, because a Northern European-style democracy also exploits people so that the people in their countries can actually have it good, but the global South ends up getting shafted.
Yeah. And they're being dismantled too. Like even places like Norway, where I admire some of the things they've done, like Norway, to fund their Scandinavian social democracy, they nationalized their oil company. So all the oil in Norway is owned by the state, and then that gets invested in social welfare programs for the workers, which is a great program. But, even a lot of those social welfare states are being dismantled by neoliberalism. Like the last 45 years in the U.S., we've seen deregulation and more unregulated capitalism, what Ronald Reagan called trickle down. But what some people don't realize is that's been a global phenomenon. That's also been happening in Europe. So a lot of these social safety nets have been dismantled to the point where even people in Europe aren't living that well anymore because, of course, the problem is capitalism.
David, let me ask you this question. Would France be doing as good now that places like Mali and Burkina Faso have kicked their asses out?
Exactly.
Is France going to be able to do that well? What about as far as their nuclear power that they use to warm their homes? Now that they don't have access to that uranium anymore, how are they going to be able to keep themselves up? Are they going to be able to have that thriving social democracy like they did in years past, David? Now that the people of those countries are kicking out their neocolonial masters? So social democracy only works when you can continue to exploit people from afar.
Yes.
Well, with their economic circumstance, we've been saying this for a long time, that the majority of Americans say that they're doing really well.
I think there's some that are struggling in certain sectors.
Yeah, there are.
But this new survey finds a majority of Americans are currently quite happy with their finances. The Axios Vibes survey reports 63% of Americans rate their current financial situation as good. That includes 19% who say it's very good. In addition, Americans' outlook for their financial futures also rosy. 66% think 2024 will be better than 2023.
Hello. He is an instructor, a Marxist, a wrestler, someone who knows a lot about the healthcare system, and just an all-around really cool, chill guy that looks better in backwards hats than I do. We have Eddie Liger Smith of Midwestern Marx joining me today.
What's up? Thanks for having me, JB. Happy to be here.
So one of the things that I wanted to touch base with you on was that as somebody that is a Marxist like yourself, right? There was some remarks that were commented on by David Pakman. Now, as anybody knows, David Pakman is a well-known person. Part of me wants to say independent media, but I don't know if I can say independent. I say independent in air quotes. But he says some things that are regarding the economy to, I guess somebody would say a right-winger, that really just was wrong in many ways. And I feel this is more of a teachable moment for somebody like David Pakman to use him as an example. And so have you ever watched any of his shows or any of his programs before?
Yeah, I actually used to watch Pakman quite a bit when I was doing the Bernie campaign in 2020. Pakman had a good video talking about how socialists could pay for all the stuff that they want. And he basically went through the government and showed how much wasteful spending there is in the government that could be diverted towards social programs. And he used to do some pretty decent content like that. And then it was after 2020, at least, pretty much he just became a Biden bro, and all of his content focuses on just, the most vulgar Trump badism, just pandering to liberals. Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, Biden good, Biden good, Biden good. And another thing I've noticed with Pakman, I've said this in videos on our channel, and we've reacted to him, is he has this condescending tone that he takes with people, especially when he disagrees with them, where he just really sounds like smug, like he's talking down to them. And I think in the clip that we're going to react to today, that really comes out.
Yeah. So just as you said, there is a clip that came out. I want to give a shout out to Greg versus capitalism.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and he actually shares this. Actually, let me show you guys what he says first before I share with you guys the video. He says, you don't hate these people enough. You think you do, but you don't. So we'll listen to this fully, and then we're going to break it down step by step. So here's what David says.
David, why are you acting like the economy is so booming and good?
Because I look at the data. This is not a show about my opinion. My opinion is irrelevant. I'm looking at the data, and that's why I say the economy is good.
The economy is absolute trash.
Oh.
There are no jobs.
Oh, we actually have record low unemployment.
Everything is so freaking expensive.
Inflation was 0 in October, 0.1 in November, and year-over-year inflation is down to 3.1%.
Interest rates are through the roof.
Interest rates are down 2 points and coming down further.
Kids can't even buy a house.
Well, okay. Kids can't even buy a house. I don't know what age you're thinking of. That part may be true.
What would you be doing if you weren't doing YouTube, man?
I'd probably be working in finance, to be honest. I was all set to go into finance, and then they pulled me into podcasting.
I did everything right, and they indicted me.
No, I would almost certainly be working in finance, yeah.
I mean, you have to sit there and talk crap about Trump every single day to put food on your table, man.
I don't have to. I choose to, sir, and that's a big difference.
If you didn't have that, you'd be totally screwed, man.
Right.
But I'm telling you this right here. There is no jobs. Nobody is spending money.
Actually, GDP has been up dramatically.
The economy is in the hole. I'm not talking about Trump or Biden. I'm not saying right or left, red or blue. I'm telling you the facts. The economy is in the dumps.
I would love it if he was able to present a single statistic that suggests that. We don't have a perfect economy. And again, we started at the top of the show by pointing out, just because they're lying about oil production being down when it's actually up, doesn't mean we like using oil as a source of energy. They are lying about oil production being down, and I wish it were, and that we were getting off of oil and going over to green energy. In the same way, just because the economy is doing really well by all historical metrics, doesn't mean that we say, hey, I'm satisfied, we don't need to do any better. There are people without access to healthcare. 40% of the country can't meet an unexpected $1,000 expense without putting it on a credit card or borrowing from friends and family or otherwise going into debt. Wages have not kept up with inflation over the longer period of time. There's a whole list of problems, but we are doing way better than we were. We are not the be-all end-all of a Northern European-style democracy and economy, but we have made improvements, and we have to recognize that if you are measuring how well the economy is doing differently depending on who's president, then you're being biased.
Okay,
It's so
so
funny. Sorry.
First of all, I would like to get your initial thoughts about just the tone that David Pakman used in this, and then we can go down line by line. But I would just like to get your initial thoughts of the tone that he used regarding this person, because apparently this person is someone that's probably on the right, correct? But in my opinion, what this guy on the right was saying was correct. And so please give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we can break down the data points all that we want, and we can talk about how the Biden economy isn't doing well and how capitalism is failing the majority of the country. But like you said, there's so much to break down just in the way, in the tone that David Pakman takes with that viewer. I mean, you clearly have a working class viewer who, maybe can't explain with data and statistics that the economy isn't doing well, but they know the economy is not doing well because they feel it every day. They feel they're being exploited. They feel that they're being trapped in debt. They feel that, the price of goods is out of control, and that they can't afford their rent, that they can't afford their health care. And that's the experience that they have and that their whole family has. So David Pakman's response to that is to treat this guy like he's an idiot, to treat him like his feelings are illegitimate, and like he's making them up, you know, and complaining, and then cherry picks a bunch of data points to tell, like literally talking about GDP, which measures nothing except for corporate profits. I mean, the money that we pay in debt to the big banks counts as GDP. So, you know, that's not a sign of a productive economy that's working for the working class. I mean, this is so-called leftists, like David Pakman calls himself a leftist. We've known this for years, that GDP isn't a good measure of how the working class is doing. Yet here he is citing GDP in a super condescending fashion towards a working class person to tell them that their gripes about the economy are illegitimate. And you know, I'm David Pakman's a liberal, so I'm okay with liberals showing their asses and showing the American working class how condescending they are. But if you're a communist, if you're a Marxist, you cannot act like David Pakman did in this video. Right? You cannot act condescending towards people. You need to be open to the very real economic struggles that they're facing, if you want to win those people towards a progressive movement like the struggle for socialism.
Absolutely. And this is one of the things that I think people like him get wrong, is that there's this tone that he continuously has that is talking down to working people. And it is counterproductive to actually get people to your side if you're trying to win them over. And the point is people need to be talked with, not at. And I feel like people like David Pakman talks at people, especially those of us who are working and working class, those of us who are working poor, right? And so it's as if, because this guy dare complain about the economy, and my question to David Pakman would be, if we switched out the administrations, and if it were a Trump administration instead of a Biden administration, would he be saying the exact same thing? Would he be backing it up with the exact same things that he's been saying? Because a Trump supporter could turn around while Trump's in power and say those exact same things, and then you will be wanting to rebut them. So what about the GDP? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, God, I'll go on a rant, and I will make the stream last 3 hours. So let's break this down, because I don't want you to be here all night. So, because that's how I am. So let's break this down.
David, why are you acting like the economy is so booming and good?
That's a great question. Why is he acting like the economy is so booming and good? Because guess what? The people who are rich, that's what they act like. And the rest of us are like, oh, no. All right, let's go.
Because I look at the data.
He didn't say that it wasn't.
Right.
Oh, my God.
The first thing they'll teach you in any statistics class, if you take a statistics class, the first thing they will teach you is that people can manipulate statistics for political ends, that you can cherry pick statistics and use them to make pretty much any argument you want, right? And statistics and data are important, right? It's important to have quantifiable hard facts to back up your argument.
Of course.
But what David Pakman's doing here is something that only liberals do, is pretending that he's objective, right? I'm not pushing my opinion into this at all. I am objectively looking at the data in an unbiased way. That doesn't exist. Every human is biased. You have to be so incredibly arrogant to believe that you are the one true person who can interpret the data in an unbiased fashion. But that's what David Pakman is saying here before he proceeds to interpret the data in an incredibly biased fashion towards Biden. And then at the end, he has the gall to say, you know, you shouldn't be manipulating data based on what side you're on. Like, that's exactly what you're doing, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And, okay, gosh, this is going to be difficult to get through. I can tell. Eddie.
We're going to be ranting on this one.
Oh, God. Yes, we are. Okay, let's continue.
This is not a show about my opinion. My opinion is
Yes, it is. Oh. See, I told you. Okay, JB, shut up. Just tell me to shut up. Eddie, just tell me to shut up.
I agree. It's frustrating.
It is irrelevant. I'm looking at the data, and that's why I say the economy is good.
The economy is absolute trash.
Oh.
There are no jobs.
Oh, we actually have record low unemployment.
Okay, first of all, hang on, let me make myself bigger. First of all, just because we have record low unemployment doesn't mean that people are actually doing good. Because here's the thing. You can give me a Ritz cracker with a piece of cheese, a Ritz cracker with a piece of pepperoni, and a Ritz cracker with some cream cheese on it, and be like, "Hey, you got a variety. Oh, look how plentiful you have. You have a variety there." And yet, you only gave me 3 Ritz crackers with food on it. David? You'd be like, well, you got multiple Ritz crackers. That is multiple Ritz crackers. But is that really going to fill me up? No. And here's the crazy part. It's like, okay, just because there is a whole bunch of jobs that are being taken doesn't mean that one person doesn't have more than one. I could have 2, 3 jobs. Guess what? If you have 100,000 people with 2 or 3 jobs, that's 300,000 jobs. But only 100,000 people work in those jobs. Eddie, please.
It's something that capitalists always do. They cite, it's another capitalistic metric, unemployment, which, by the way, doesn't include people who are underemployed, people who have given up searching for work because they don't have it. And, you know, just because unemployment's low, okay, if the people who are employed still can't afford to get by, that doesn't really mean much. And under capitalism, unemployment will never, ever, 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 ever hit 0. It'll be impossible because, as Karl Marx points out in the book Capital, capitalism depends on what's called what Marx calls the reserve army of labor. So when feudalism goes away and when capitalism comes in Europe, there becomes this group of people who want to sell their labor power on the market. They want to be wage laborers, but they can't find places to sell it. They're unemployed. And that gives the capitalists a pool of labor that they can pull from, say, if their workers go on strike. So the capitalist workers go on strike, they turn to the reserve army of labor, the army of the unemployed, and they say, well, you know, come work for us while our workers are on strike. Come fill up the workplace for us. So that is necessary for capitalism's existence, that reserve army of labor. So, you know, they can talk about how unemployment is slightly lower under Biden versus Trump, but unemployment will never cease to be a problem under capitalism.
Exactly. And so, in layman's terms, for what Eddie just said, so eloquently, I may add, by the way, is that they need to have broke, unemployed people so that when it comes to actually hiring people, then if you don't want to have starvation wages, then they're like, well, if you don't want this job, and if you want something higher, we don't have to take you. There's a whole bunch of other people that I can hire and take in anyway. And on top of that, this is why they need homelessness to exist. Because if homelessness exists, that means that you'll be too scared to actually fight for actual workers' rights. And so then it's like they use homeless people as a means to say, look at them as the example. If you don't work for starvation wages, you're going to end up just like them. By the way, homelessness is on the rise. How do I know? Let's take a look. So let me share this, and I'll get back to Mr. Pakman. I got to be respectful here because, you know. Oh, jeez. I got to. But this is from News 13. Says homeless population increases in downtown Orlando. I live in Orlando, right? Says according to the Homeless Service Network, the homeless population increased 5% from last year across Central Florida. Mark Are, CEO of Orlando's Homeless Service Network, says unsheltered homeless is up 38% from last year. Those people did not change. The housing market changed. Now, it says for 75% of the people that experience homelessness, It was their first time. They have never been homeless before. Most homeless people are newly homeless. So by that metric alone, what David Pakman said was bullcrap. I'm trying not to cuss because YouTube. But that's the issue. And so saying, oh, well, the employment rate is actually low. It doesn't matter. For over 40% of people who are homeless have jobs. They have jobs, David. They have jobs. And so when people are homeless but still working, that means that the system is crap. I'm not going to say the system is broken because it's originally intended to be that way. There's not broken system. It's intended to be that way. So then it's like, well, maybe you should have 2 jobs instead of 1 so you won't be homeless. Then where's the line? Maybe you should have 3 jobs instead. Maybe you should have 4 jobs instead. Or maybe you should be a slave instead so you can actually have a home and food to eat. Where's the line, man? Where are we going? Before I continue, any thoughts on that, please?
No, I completely agree. My friend said once, like, as a joke, he said some people don't work hard enough for insulin. You know, like exactly like you're saying, like, where is the line? You know, how hard do you have to work before you can get insulin when you're born with diabetes? You know, and who decides where that line is? I think everybody who has diabetes should get insulin in our society. We can afford to give it to them. Why wouldn't we?
Eddie, I'm telling you, dude, I just came back from hanging out with comrades, and one of the last things we did was, and God bless one of the members of my chapter, Sabiha. She had some warm clothes and blankets that she had in the back of her car, and she was like, can we deliver these to some of the homeless? Because it's going to be extremely cold tonight, and I don't want them to be without. And so after hanging out and bashing capitalism for, a nice conversation, we went to the area. By the way, there was a homeless camp on Terry Avenue here in Orlando. Gone. They got rid of it. And then there was this line of homeless people that we deliver it to. Clean us out. Right? In fact, one of the members, shout out to you, Cam, if you're watching, literally took his jacket off and gave it away too. That was a nice jacket. And so the thing is some of those people have never been homeless before, ever. And it's growing. I did a story a few weeks ago where boomers are increasing. There are more homeless elderly people than there have ever been in history. So what is David talking about? I don't know what he's talking about, but I see this all the time, and it's growing, and it's sad. So let's continue. Keep it together, JB.
Everything is so freaking expensive.
Inflation was 0 in October, 0.1 in November, and year-over-year inflation is down to 3.1%.
Interesting.
That's still so high. The cost of goods is only going up 3.1% while wages are stagnant. Quit complaining. That's still 3%. The cost of goods are being driven up by capitalists so that they can maintain their profits at a certain level while our wages are stagnant. So our wages are staying the same and inflation's going up, and Pakman's like, that's okay because inflation's going up slower now under Biden than it was under Trump. Bro, it doesn't matter. The problem's capitalism. The problem's not Biden or Trump. They're just symptoms.
Yeah. And my thing is, I did a story a few weeks ago how on RBN, how they were artificially inflating the price of chicken. And so guess what? We can't afford it. Look here. Food prices are rising at the highest rate in decades. Says even as U.S. inflation moderates for millions of Americans, every trip to the grocery store is a pain in the pocketbook. Supermarket prices have shot up in the fastest rate in decades, putting staples like eggs and bread out of reach for some. Over the past 2 years, egg prices have nearly doubled, leading some customers to extreme workarounds to try to smuggle eggs from Mexico. Smuggling eggs? Are you kidding me? And painting Easter potatoes instead of dyeing eggs to save on household funds. Meat, fish, chicken are all substantially pricier than they were 2 years ago, as well as cereal and bread, which cost nearly 25% more today than they did in 2021. Look at this. Look at this. What the cluck? Look at the eggs, man. Golly.
It was like,
And David's like, oh, inflation is only up this much. We're looking at the data, David. We're looking at the data.
right. And a lot of us don't even have to look at the data because we see this in the grocery store. I went to Aldi's the other day and it was $7 for a 12 pack of eggs or a carton of eggs. It's like, what the hell's going on here? But David Pakman probably shops at Whole Foods. He probably shops at Trader Joe's and these real nice, expensive places because he can afford it. And the price of food doesn't really affect him. So he's able to condescend towards working class people who don't have a nice little job doing a YouTube show where they just bash Trump every day and make good money to do it. So he's not feeling the price hike. So he's able to act condescending towards those who are. It's really sick.
Yeah. And the thing is like when it comes to people like us, we're dying out here, man. I think that's the point. We're dying out here. And there's people starving. I'm not even going to say kids because for some reason, like there's, over 10,000 kids that died in Gaza because of bombs, but people somehow don't care about kids anymore. So I'm just going to say people. So people here literally are starving. And yet it's like, well, everything's good. It's just like what Joe Scarborough was saying in the top of the show. People are happy. Everything's good. The hell? All right, let's continue. Because I can go on and on and on, and I'm trying not to. JB, just keep it together, bro.
Interest rates are through the roof.
Interest rates are down 2 points and coming down further.
Kids can't even buy a house.
Well, okay. Kids can't even buy a house. I don't know what age you're thinking of. That part may be true.
I can't afford to buy a home. Eddie? I don't know about you, but I know I can't.
The vast majority of people our age are renters. I mean, we have a nation of renters because no one our age can afford to buy a home. And, but we're all paying rent each month to landlords, and that contributes to the GDP that David Pakman puts on a pedestal. Says, oh, look, the GDP is doing well. Well, that includes the 25% of our paychecks we're paying every month for rent to a landlord who contributes no value to society.
25%? Dude, I'm over 50.
There you go.
And on top of it, I'll be 40 this year, David. And I can't afford a home. 40. Yeah, I know I look good. 40. Right? So, what about me? Well, I just didn't work hard enough. Is that what it is? Is that why I can't afford a home? I just didn't work hard enough? You could literally work in a diner back then and be able to afford a home and have a family on a salary as a cook in a diner back then. Now? Are you kidding me right now?
And we're a society drowning in debt, all kinds of debt. You have student debt, you have housing debt, you have even 60% of the country at this point experiences medical debt at some point in their lives. So over half of our country is being indebted by the healthcare system. And again, the money we pay towards our debtors goes towards the GDP that Pakman puts on a pedestal and says the GDP equals a great economy. But 60% of the economy is in debt. And this goes to the absurdity of his data, of his statistics, which he says are unbiased, right? He says interest rates are lower, so the economy is doing well. We have 60% of our country is being put in debt by the healthcare system, the system that's supposed to make us healthy. The system that's supposed to make us well is trapping us in debt that we have to continue paying back with interest for the rest of our lives. So how can you look at that economy, an economy, a system, a society where the healthcare system is trapping people in debt and say that this is a good economy because interest rates are slightly lower under Biden than they were under Trump? I mean, it's absurd. You're completely missing the root of the issue, the root of the problem, which is that so many people are in debt in the first place, to say, oh, well, it's not so bad because interest rates are a little bit lower now than they were a month ago or whatever. It's just total cherry picking and manipulation of statistics to try and tell working people that their grievances aren't legitimate.
Yeah. Like, we're literally suffering right now. And yeah, so let me continue on.
What would you be doing if you weren't doing YouTube, man?
I'd probably be working in finance, to be honest.
Oh, good for you. Good for you, David. Not everybody can get into that field. Not everybody has the brain for finance. Not everybody has the bandwidth for finance. I could not be able to do finance. So what would I be doing? David?
To be honest, I was all set to go into finance, and then they pulled me into podcasting.
Who pulled you?
The CIA.
JB. Shut up, JB. Shut up.
Everything right, and they indicted me.
No, I would almost certainly be working in finance. Yeah.
I mean, you have to sit there and talk crap about Trump every single day to put food on your table, man.
I don't have to. I choose to, sir. And that's.
I thought they pulled you in. By the way, just to let everybody know, I don't give a crap about Trump. By the way, Trump is just as horrible as Joe Biden. So if you guys come here and thinking that I have some love for anybody on the right like Trump, you are utterly mistaken, because Trump is just as fascistic as Joe Biden. The only difference is that Biden doesn't know where the hell he is. At least Trump knows where he is. That's all I got to say. Two old racists. Jeez Louise. Anywho, let's continue.
And that's a big difference.
If you didn't have that, you'd be totally screwed, man.
Right.
But I'm telling you this right here. There is no jobs. Nobody is spending money.
Actually, GDP has been up dramatically.
The economy.
Now, that GDP has been up dramatically. We do not measure our bank accounts by the success of corporations, because that does not translate to us, because we have an economy where all the wealth goes to the top. Here's one thing I want to give an analogy. Let's say me and Eddie live in a mansion, right? You and I, we live in a mansion. And when we go to the mansion, we have to go through the basement every day. And we live in the basement of that mansion. In that mansion, in that basement, we only have about a foot by foot square that we can operate in that basement, because it's so full of people. And they throw crumbs into the basement, few spritz of water, and say, you guys survive here on your own, and you guys have to work down here in the basement of the mansion. Somebody can come and say, but you live in a mansion. And hey, look, the household just got $100,000 increase in their household take-home pay. But how is that translating to us, who's living in the basement in squalor? how does that translate to us? The United States is a mansion where the majority of the people that are living here are stuck in the basement, and we're not allowed to sprawl and go throughout the rest of the house. That's how it is. And yet you're telling me because the people who are on the top floor in the suites made more, that somehow we should be happy. No, David. We need to take over the mansion, bust down the door, and live it up and give everybody the rest of the house. But you don't feel that's good, right?
That analogy explains it better than I could with any kind of theory talk. I mean, that's perfect. It's exactly what it is. It's a mansion where the vast majority of people are living in the basement, and David Pakman's telling them, shut up and quit complaining. You live in a mansion. That's exactly what it is.
So why is it bad for me to complain about living in squalor in a basement when that's our reality? See, please stop doing the liberal thing where if I'm on fire and then you go, well, the Republicans will just say, sucks to be you and keep on walking. But because I'm on fire, you take a spray bottle and spritz me with alcohol thinking it's water and thinking, hey, see, I helped you a little bit. That's not helping, bro. That's what you're doing. And now, don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining, David. Because my wallet actually tells me more truth than you could ever do. My wallet tells me, my bank account tells me that no matter who's in office, my life is still shit.
And
that's what me and millions of others. It is not just black people. It's poor white people. It's even undocumented immigrants that are coming into this country because of the foreign policy of our country that are dragging them in here. Not dragging them, but pushing them to come here so that they could be the new cheap labor. And then they pit them against us, right? This is what they're doing. Yet, we got to stop complaining. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with everything you're saying. I hope people understand, too, that's what you're saying is exactly what his interest rate argument is. Right? He's looking at the vast majority of Americans who are drowning in debt, and he's saying, well, your interest rates are slightly lower under Biden than they are under Trump, so stop complaining. I mean, it is absurdity and missing the core of what's wrong with our system. The fact that the people at the top of our system benefit from trapping the people at the bottom of our system in debt. And then the money that the people at the bottom of our system are constantly paying towards the big banks in debt goes towards the GDP. And people like Pakman then point at the GDP and say, oh, look, the economy is doing great. I mean, it's such a disgusting cherry picking of data and distortion of the facts in order to push an argument. And then he has the gall to say, you know, people shouldn't be unbiased and cherry pick facts. Like, bro, what do you think you're doing? You have to be so arrogant to not realize that you're the one distorting facts here.
But dude, it's inhumane, bro. Like, it's inhumane to me. Like, and the thing is like, even though this guy is a Trump supporter, why is he a Trump supporter, bro?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. They never ask that question. Why do people fall for the populist right?
Exactly.
The liberals never ask that.
It's like, yeah, because he's searching for something to overthrow the system. And yes, was he duped by a con man that can't even keep his hair halfway on his head? Yeah, he was duped. A lot of people were duped. Just like liberals were duped into voting for Joe Biden and staying within the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party duped a lot of us. Just like the Republicans duped a lot of other people. Yeah. But this is why we have to tell them the truth and go, no, they're both bad. We got to go completely the opposite direction. because they're telling us to go into the furnace and say, well, it's really warm in there. You can really keep warm, when really we're going to fry the bits. And we're like, no, go into the opposite direction. Man.
Is in the hole. I'm not talking about Trump or Biden. I'm not saying right or left, red or blue. I'm telling you the facts. The economy is in the dumps.
Yes.
I would love it if he was able to present a single statistic that suggests that.
JB just presented about 1,000, Mr. Pakman.
We don't have a
There's
perfect
about
economy.
1,000.
And again, we started at the
Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just saying we've given him a million statistics, and even that Joe Scarborough segment at the beginning about how Americans aren't that worried. You can find studies done by Gallup that say 77% of Americans are anxious about their financial situation, or one that says the majority of Americans are discouraged about their personal finances. So
yeah,
it's just the cherry picking of data, and then they pretend like it's objective.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
And the single statistic that suggests that. We don't have a perfect economy. And again, we started at the top of the show by pointing out, just because they're lying about oil production being down when it's actually up, doesn't mean we like using oil as a source of energy. They are lying about oil production being down, and I wish it were, and that we were getting off of oil and going over to green energy. In the same way, just because the economy is doing really well by all historical metrics, doesn't mean that we say, hey, I'm satisfied, we don't need to do any better. There are people without access to healthcare. 40% of the country can't meet an unexpected $1,000 expense without putting it on a credit card or borrowing from friends and family or otherwise going into debt. Wages have not kept up with inflation over the longer period of time. There's a whole list of problems, but we are doing way better than we were.
No, we're not. No, we are not, David.
If we were, then Trump wouldn't be polling so well. But of course, these guys don't understand that the appeal of Trump is that he lies and says that he's going to end the wars and bring the jobs back, whereas the Democrats are being condescending and saying, no, shut up, the economy's fine. Which, that's exactly why Trump is probably going to win again. And then these people like Pakman will act like they're shocked. Oh, America's so stupid, they voted for Trump. No, you were just super condescending towards working class Americans for the past 4 years, whereas Trump at least said he was going to do something for him. I don't believe him. I think he's a liar, but at least he offered them something other than condescension and arrogance.
Yeah, I mean, it's like having a partner that nags you and nags you and nags you, but then you go to the strip club and the stripper tells you they love you, even though they're not telling you the truth. You still rather go to the strip club because the stripper at least will lie to you. Like, the hell?
That's such a perfect analogy.
Like, golly, man. Like, that's the thing. Like, they're willing to go to the stripper, and the stripper is going to say, well, yeah, I love you. Give me the money. That's what this situation is. And if you really want to actually, square with the people, you'll let them know, yeah, people are really suffering. This is why the system needs to change. And the thing is it's like, yeah, those metrics are great for according to whom and according to what metrics. What about the happiness level of all the Americans that we see? What about that? Or what about our happiness level? How many of us are now getting married? David is a millennial, just like myself, right? How many of us are choosing to get married? How many of us can afford a home now? How many of us are having kids? There's a whole lot more IUDs. There's a whole lot more condoms being sold because guess what? We're like, we ain't bringing no kids into this world.
Can't do it. Can't afford it.
Part of it's because capitalism is one of the biggest cock blockers of them all. Just ask any red-blooded person. We ain't getting it in like we want to. Let's just be real. Because we can't afford to. But that's the thing. Right? I love how Eddie goes, yeah.
You're right.
That's the problem with capitalism. All right, let me continue because I talk too much. Oh, I talk too much. I'm too long-winded. I know.
We are not the be-all end-all of a Northern European-style democracy and economy.
No, because a Northern European-style democracy also exploits people so that the people in their countries can actually have it good, but the global South ends up getting shafted.
Yeah. And they're being dismantled too. Like even places like Norway, where I admire some of the things they've done, like Norway to fund their Scandinavian social democracy, they nationalized their oil company. So all the oil in Norway is owned by the state, and then that gets invested in social welfare programs for the workers, which is a great program. But, you know, even a lot of those social welfare states are being dismantled by neoliberalism. Like the last 45 years in the U.S., we've seen deregulation and more unregulated capitalism, what Ronald Reagan called trickle down. But what some people don't realize is that's been a global phenomenon. That's also been happening in Europe. So a lot of these social safety nets have been dismantled to the point where even people in Europe aren't living that well anymore because, of course, the problem is capitalism.
David, let me ask you this question. Would France be doing as good now that places like Mali and Burkina Faso have kicked their asses out? Is France going to be able to do that well? What about as far as their nuclear power that they use to warm their homes? Now that they don't have access to that uranium anymore, how are they going to be able to keep themselves up? Are they going to be able to have that thriving social democracy like they did in years past, David? Now that the people of those countries are kicking out their neocolonial masters? So social democracy only works when you can continue to exploit people from afar.
Yes. So true.
So if you really want to have worker solidarity, you don't even want a social democracy, because the thing is that you need to still exploit in order to have these benefits. That's the problem with these European style democracies. I don't want, no offense to the present company, but I don't want anything European style, because look what it did to the world.
No kidding. I agree. Well, I'm Irish, so technically they got fucked by it too. But
you Claire Daly Irish too. Claire Daly's one of the homies, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let me finish this, and then I because my next story actually has something to do with this, but hang on, JB, get it together, man. What the hell is wrong with you? A lot. Don't answer that question.
Economy. But we have made improvements, and we have to recognize that if you are measuring how well the economy is doing differently depending on who's president, then you're being biased.
That's what you just. You know what? David, what you just did, bro? That's what you just did.
It's
Eddie,
unreal.
I need you to do something. Then you do me a favor. I need you to jump on a plane, come here, put me in the sleeper hold so that I won't have to, and make me go to sleep, because I can't deal with this anymore. Put me in a sleeper hold, bro. I know you know it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
It's insane. I don't know. And it's like, that's the level of arrogance that we're dealing with here, to where like he can cherry pick statistics for 2 straight minutes to make Biden look good, and then end his speech by saying, you know, nobody should cherry pick statistics to make one candidate look good. Like, are you what world are you living in? It's unreal.
Do not put sprinkles on a pile of shit and tell me it's chocolate ice cream, bro. Stop it. It smells like it. It looks like it. Don't tell me to eat it, bro. Stop it. Look, I can't tell you how many times. Perfect example. As somebody that's disabled, my disability check is about equal to my rent. Once my disability check is Was my rent's paid? My disability check gone. How do I eat, David? How do I pay for my utilities, David? How do I pay for my health care, David? David, I literally have a GoFundMe on my Twitter page. I literally have to crowdfund just so that we can survive. And my mother lives with me. My mother's 72, David. And she has never owned her own home. What do you say to her? Oh, you just didn't work hard enough? Is that what you're going to say? See, I can use myself as an example because there's so many of us that are going through this. And so when people say, well, things are relatively good, for whom? You got it good. You're on Roku. You're on Free Speech TV. You have a huge YouTube channel. Yeah, you're good. But what about the rest of us? And I think that's the point. And the point is that we can't look at this from an individualistic point of view. Because once we start to do that, then we start to divorce ourselves from the rest of the community and the rest of society. Right? I think this is why. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. At the end of the day, it's such an individualistic way to look at it too. His perspective, and yeah, I don't know. It makes me emotional hearing stories like that because you know people who need medical care to survive, and they're just scraping by. And like I've heard so many stories like yours of people who crowdfund. One of the first ladies I met through the Bernie campaign told me she was sending her insulin in the mail to people who needed it, which is illegal. So she had to like sneak around law enforcement in order to help people get her insulin. I met a couple through the Bernie campaign whose mother got cancer, and then her job laid her off because she had cancer. And then they just watched her wither away and die because she got cut off from her health insurance because she had it through her employer. There are stories like this all over the fucking country. I hate to get emotional, but it makes me emotional. And then you have people like David Pakman who are making a nice income to shit on Trump every day and give, half-baked MSNBC Rachel Maddow-esque political analysis, and they don't give a shit about the millions of people who are suffering in this country who can't pay for their damn medical care. And I just can't wrap my head around it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like the second I heard that story about the couple whose mom died, I was like, okay, it's my mission in fucking life to make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else anymore, to make sure that we can fix our system and give everybody in this society health care. But these people like David Pakman don't care. They don't give a shit. They're never gonna have that collective working class spirit that we have as socialists and communists.
Yeah. Let me share this with you guys too. This video is entitled, How Much Money Do Americans Need to Be Comfortable?
They need to earn $233,000 a year to be financially comfortable.
$233,000 per year. Eddie, do you have $233,000, man?
I fucking wish. Sorry, I don't mean to swear, but not even close.
Yep.
But in 2021, American workers on average made only $75,203 annually.
Americans are sort of looking at how much money they would like to have to be financially secure, and that ends up being basically 3 times what the average income is in this country. And to be essentially wealthy or really successful, it's magnitudes above that.
72% of Americans said they weren't financially secure given their current finances. And more than a quarter of Americans said they'll likely never be financially secure.
By the numbers, their
Mm-hmm.
debt is lower and their savings are higher coming out of the pandemic, but they're more anxious about what's going to happen next, if they have job stability, if they're going to be able to have secure retirement.
With well over half of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, many are failing to meet some of their modest financial goals.
There are actually millions of people struggling. It's not something that people want to talk about, but if you're in a place where your financial security feels super precarious, you're not alone. And it's not your fault.
So how did it become so difficult to be financially secure in America? And what can you do about it? Let's do some budgeting. Americans working full-time earned a median monthly income of about $4,400 during the second quarter of 2023.
I wish I made that much.
No,
I really do.
I don't know almost anyone who makes that much. I mean, the cost of living in the Midwest isn't what it is in like New York and LA, but I don't know almost anyone who makes that much.
Dude, we literally have, in order to afford a 2-bedroom here in Florida, you have to make $32 an hour.
Holy shit. Holy crap, dude.
Yeah. I'll show you the numbers in a minute, but let's continue.
The average worker takes home 75.2% of gross wages after taxes and benefits, shrinking the take-home pay to about $3,308. And that just isn't enough to cover the cost of living in America today.
The cost of healthcare, that has skyrocketed. The cost of attending college has skyrocketed. The cost of purchasing a home has skyrocketed. But nowhere has anyone said wage growth is up 15%, right?
Take a look at some of the most essential expenses for Americans. The median monthly rent in the US is $2,029 as of June 2023. That amount already accounts for over 46% of the Americans' median pre-tax income. But most US agencies classify spending more than 30% of one's gross monthly income on rent as being rent burdened. Meanwhile, the median mortgage payment for a 2,400 square foot house was $1,957 per month. However, a common rule of thumb advises spending 28% or less of your pre-tax income on mortgage payments. For the median gross monthly earnings, that translates to just $1,232.
As we talk to households and talk to consumers out in the real world, especially those, say, under 40, housing is the big issue. You know, rent, mortgage. It is the biggest concern that people aren't going to be able to make the next payment.
There's your
Inflation
GDP.
is really hurting individuals.
That's what helps the GDP go up, all the money we're paying in rent every month. It's a great sign of how the landlords are doing, but not the working people of this country.
Exactly.
Having stability in their housing. And I think sometimes we underestimate that if you have uncertainty in your housing, it causes uncertainty everywhere.
Housing is also the reason why cities have become more difficult to afford. Americans said it would require more than $1 million in net worth to be financially comfortable in places like San Francisco, New York, and Southern California.
This is why we've seen some migration or mobility around the country where some people say, I'm living in a high cost state like California or New York. We really want to sort of pack up and go to an area that's less expensive. And one of the ironies of that is those places that were cheaper before are now becoming more expensive.
Like Florida, where I live. Because everybody's moving here. Everybody and their mama. And what do? Because now we're being gentrified up the wazoo now here. It's crazy, man.
It is. My buddy's in Aspen, Colorado, which is a hot spot for rich people to move. And it's like $6 to $7 for a Snickers bar when I go visit him. It's insane. And the only way that he can live out there is by teaching, because if they didn't offer free apartments to the teachers, they wouldn't have any teachers, because you can't survive on a teacher's salary in Aspen. So he got his teaching degree and started teaching so that he could get free housing and actually afford to live out there. But it's insane, the cost of living in some of these areas.
God. Hey, hungry? I'll wait. I won't grab a Snickers. Jeez. Man. It just goes to show how people are really, truly suffering. And then you have a lot of people who go, it's not that. It's not as bad. And they're like, it's improving, when in reality, it's actually getting worse. It just, it doesn't square, right? Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.